which is going to be all about these. I swear you're doing it on purpose. Bloody hell. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day so far, and welcome to today's video, which is going to be all about these new skin enhancers from Chanel. I have two shades to try and share all of my thoughts on. We're going to be trying them side by side. I'm going to be mixing them together. We're going to be trying them under foundation, and I also have some similar products to compare it to. I've got like the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter, the By Terry CC Serum, this Chantecaille Anti-Aging Skin Tint. I'm going to be sharing all of the details, all of the comparisons, and all of my thoughts. So without further ado, let's get started. So these new skin enhancers from Chanel, they are available in 3 shades and will set you back £49 or $60 for 30 mils. They come in this gorgeous glass bottle with pull-off cap and pump. And they are part of the No1 collection from Chanel, which is described as a new generation of products, including skincare, makeup, and a fragrance mist. Enriched with red camellia extract and oil, the red camellia skin enhancer helps keep skin looking youthful and restores its natural radiance day after day. Concentrated with plant waxes and hyaluronic acid, it hydrates skin all day long. Smoothing and perfecting, it can be used on its own or applied as a primer under foundation. Available in 3 subtly pearlescent apricot hued shades for a radiant complexion, light coverage, suitable for all skin tones. So I picked up 2 shades. I have soft pink, which is the lightest of the 3, and then I have medium coral, which is the middle shade. And there is one deeper shade, which is intense amber, which I just felt like was going to be too deep for me to pick up. So I'm going to be trying these out. I'm going to be trying them out separately. I'm going to try them mixed together. I'm going to try them under foundation, and then I'm going to give you all of my thoughts along with comparisons to all of the kind of similar products that I have tried or that I own in my collection, to see if you have something similar, and also to help share some shade comparisons and swatches so that you can kind of see where these sit as far as the colors and tones, if you have any of these other products to compare them to. So let's get on with whacking these bad boys on my face. So initially my feelings are that the soft pink is going to be a little too light, and that the medium coral is going to be a little too dark. I think the best solution for me right now in summer will be to mix the two, but obviously not everyone wants to buy 2 shades and mix them. So I'm going to try both of these shades side by side. We'll see how they both look, and then I'll mix them together and we can vote what the winner is. I think in winter the soft pink will be perfect. You can see, I mean, it's quite a bit lighter than my face, and my face is a lot lighter than my body. This is the sort of product that I like to use to sort of just even up the difference between my face and body when I don't necessarily want to go like full on makeup. This is the sort of product. I'm hoping it's going to be kind of similar to the Chantecaille Anti-Aging Skin Tint, but there are more colour options. That's only available in 1 option, I think. Okay, so here is the soft pink. It's definitely slightly evening out my skin tone. I wouldn't really say there's like coverage. It's more so like balancing and colour correcting than it is like adding coverage. There's a really lovely luminosity to it versus nothing on this side, but I don't feel like it looks sort of sweaty and shiny and too much. I think that's pretty. I think I can get away with it, but it's obviously not sort of matching up between my body and my face. It's just kind of colour correcting what's there. I might just try and build up another pump. So this is the second pump. The pumps are quite small. Obviously you could use your hand if you're someone who can tolerate touching stuff. I am sadly not. I wouldn't recommend using a sponge because you're just going to lose a lot of the product to the sponge. It feels very hydrating and light and fresh. It does have the exact same scent as the foundation. It's quite a noticeable skincare type scent, very nice fresh fragrance, but it's definitely there. I literally just got back from the hairdressers, so there is like hair dye all over me. Okay, so here we have a sort of built up layer. As you can see, gorgeous glowy skin, slightly taking the edge off like the redness, slightly toning down like melasma, but it's not sort of even giving like a light coverage. It's more so just a little color correcting, a little brightening, a little glow. Beautiful. Exactly what I was hoping it would be. Okay, so I've cleaned off my brush, and now let's go in on this side with the medium coral, which looks like a very orange. There's hair dye on this ear as well. Oh no. So I initially thought this colour, it's looking very warm, it's looking very orange. It's going to be too dark for me, but I think this is going to be like actually a pretty good shade to kind of match between my face and body. And I think it's sheer enough that you really don't need to like have an exact match, but it also is going, I mean, you can see immediately there's a difference. It's subtle, but there is definitely a noticeable difference between the two sides. Like this side, I feel like everything's kind of matching up and it's like a bronzier look. Whereas on this side, I feel like this side looks really brightened. And I also feel like on the medium coral side, the evening out of skin tone and redness and everything, like I don't feel like I need to build it up. I feel like this is actually more even with less product than this side, just probably because the colour is a little better for me. But I do feel like the two shades mixed together is going to be the perfect shade for me, which is literally so typical of my life. I am just constantly a mixing shades kind of girl. I feel like I need to build this side up just so we've got a more even comparison. When it first goes on, it looks so orange, but when you blend it out, it's just really not got like enough pigment for that to be an issue. The hair dye is just everywhere. Feel like it's really helping like my under eye darkness as well. Perfect. This is exactly what I felt like I needed and wanted. I think you can see the difference here where I've done my whole chin with this medium coral side, and there's quite the colour difference going on over here. I definitely haven't quite gone down the middle of my chin, have I? With spreading. Okay, so here we have the built up side of the medium coral versus the built up side of the soft pink. Quite a noticeable shade difference. I would say this is like a blemish, by the way, if you're wondering what's going on. That's what that is. Definitely not coverage as such, but I feel like this has really evened out my skin tone on this side. Definitely better than this side. This side is a little evened out, but it's definitely a bit light and bright. And I think although it might not look so noticeable on camera, in the mirror, my face is looking quite ghostly in comparison to my body. But I also feel like this side is is it a little too dark, or does it look like it matches my body? What do you think? I feel like it's maybe a little too bronzy. If I had it on both sides of my face, I feel like it might be a bit too warm. I definitely think the mix is gonna be the best. Darn you, Chanel. The positive side that I always like to look on when I frequently have to mix shades is that it will last twice as long using, you know, one pump. You know, using a pump of each day, they'll last twice as long, but that's just me lying to myself, quite honestly. I'm still paying double. Okay, so now I'm going to mix these two together, and then I'm going to try foundation over the top and see if the sort of glowiness effect kind of shows through the foundation at all. So I've done one pump of each. I'm just going to mix that together with my brush. I think we're gonna need maybe a bit more, we'll see. Looking at that on the back of my hand, you can see that is like the exact colour of my skin. So I feel like this is going to be, for sure, the best shade. Yeah, I mean, I feel like before the darker shade was just looking a little warm and a little dark, even, you know, trying to match my body, and the lighter shade was looking a little stark and a little ghostly on my face. It was actually kind of lighter than my face even, and my face is, you know, that much lighter than my body, so I think that was just gonna not quite work for me in the summer, but especially as I want these sort of products to actually help match up my face and body as opposed to make the difference even bigger. This combination with the two mixed together is perfect. As suspected, obviously, we don't want to mix. We wish there were more shades of this product, because I think like what we've shown in this video is that even though, you know, they are sheer and they're not sort of giving you coverage, there is a difference with the colours on the skin, and I don't think, well, I think we've clearly seen that those three shades are not going to work for everybody. There's going to be, you know, people like myself who need to mix or who just can't use them, because although it is a very sheer skin enhancer and not, you know, typical traditional base product skin tint even, you know, the shade still does matter. So I think, you know, a pump of each was like a perfect amount for this type of product. Again, it's toned down redness, it's evened out my skin tone, it's definitely helping my face kind of match up to my body exactly as I would want to use this product. Again, we've got that gorgeous glow and luminosity to the skin, but really without sort of coverage. It's more so just like evening out, toning down discoloration and uneven skin tone. It's just absolutely perfect for what I was looking for and hoping it would be. You can still fully see like my melasma, you can still see redness, you can still see like my blemish up here, it's like a little scab, but everything is kind of just a little more evened out, more toned down, more subtle. I think it's beautiful, and for what I wanted, definitely the two mixed together is the best. I feel like you certainly could use either of these shades. If you're more like my winter skin tone, then I would go with soft pink. And then if you're more like my summer and you only want to buy one shade, I would definitely go with the medium coral, because although it is a little warm and make like a hair darker, if you were gonna, you know, add a little bit of concealer or bronzer, it's gonna be absolutely fine. But for perfection for me, the mixture is the best, unfortunately. So I am going to use the No1 Foundation over the top of this, and just to see if we're still getting some of that glow showing through. I wish now in hindsight I'd done like half my face with the skin enhancer and half without, but it's too late now. But it's kind of hard to see then, you know, it's hard to see on the forehead what it's doing and in all the central regions of your face when you're doing half and half like that. And I do know this foundation well enough to know, you know, what it usually looks like. I just kind of realised, because I'd had these foundation bottles out overnight to use today with this video, I've just realised like how much I've used them. Like this one is down to, this is my winter shade, not the one that I'm using today, and it's down to here. And I'm using my summer shade today, which is B50. Before I shook it, it's literally like halfway used. That's how much I like this foundation. So yeah, so this is the shade B50 in the foundation. That's my Chanel sort of summer shade. And I'm just using a light amount of this foundation. This is kind of how I use the Water Fresh tint as well. I quite often use the Water Fresh tint on its own, but then sometimes if I just want a little bit more, I'll use it almost as a primer and just a tiny bit of the No1 foundation to add a bit of coverage if I want / feel I need it. So that's definitely now like more so giving us like a light medium coverage. You know, redness is definitely more toned down. My melasma is still thriving, but again, definitely a little less than it was before. And although this is a luminous foundation, I can instantly tell that I'm getting a lot more luminosity to the skin than I typically do if I use like my Tom Ford primer or even like the Tatcha Silk Canvas, which is sort of a more like luminous primer, hydrating primer, fresh looking primer. I'm definitely getting the effect of that glow showing through this foundation, and it's just making it like even more beautiful. Okay, so here is what it looks like underneath foundation. I haven't set anything, haven't done any concealer, I've just applied my foundation. There's definitely more luminosity, like freshness to my skin with these underneath my No1 foundation than there is typically if I use this with a different primer without these underneath. I think it looks beautiful, really gorgeous. I applied my foundation pretty quickly after the skin enhancers as well, and there's no issue. There was no sort of cloying, mixing together or like picking up or brush strokes or anything more than like what I usually would experience when I'm applying foundation. So it doesn't appear to be, you know, causing a problem to foundation going on top of it even quite quickly, you know, without a lot of time between the two steps. So yes, all good. I definitely think this worked beautifully as like a primer or a bit of a glowy boost underneath foundation or even mixed in with foundation. Very, very pretty. Okay, so I wanted to share some comparisons to similar-ish products or products that you guys have asked me to compare these new skin enhancers to. I have the Chantecaille Anti-Aging Skin Tint, I have the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter, and the Lisa Eldridge Elevated Glow. I also have the By Terry CC Serum in the shade Sunny Flash, and then the Chanel Water Fresh Tint, which is another kind of product that I use like this on like no makeup days or very low makeup days. So I just wanted to do some like comparison swatches and talk you through similarities and differences to some of these other products that are kind of glowy skin-like products. So I'd say the most similar of all of these is the Water Fresh Tint. It has more pigmentation, it's much thinner, watery consistency than the skin enhancers, but it kind of does the same job but with a little more coverage. The Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Filter and the Lisa Eldridge Elevated Glow, both of these are more like highlighting products. So I'll show you the swatches in a moment, but I mean, the Charlotte Tilbury, you will see it looks very much more highlighty on the skin, as does the Lisa Eldridge. This is, after all, a liquid highlighter, and you can use both of these as primers to give yourself more of a glow, but all over the face on their own with like no foundation over the top, they're going to look as if you have highlighter all over your whole face. So that's just something to consider. The By Terry CC Serum, again, kind of a similar product on paper, but quite different as far as the shades that are available. And again, I can use this in summer to even out my complexion, but I obviously wouldn't be able to use this shade in winter. Again, a much thinner consistency, like texture wise, to the Chanel No1, but I'd say less glowy, more of a natural sort of bit of luminosity, less glowy. So I think underneath foundation, this isn't going to show through. It's nice as a bare skin, just this, you know, matching up face and body for me in summer, but it isn't quite as glowy and luminous. And I feel like it doesn't quite, it has maybe a little more coverage as well. It doesn't quite have that sort of sheer skin-like quality as much as the Chanel. Like, I think on its own, it looks a little more makeup-y. Like, you can tell you've got something on your skin versus the Chanel. I feel like you could get away with it being, you've just got amazing skin, you know? So let's look at some swatches that might help you with shade comparisons if you're still a little stuck between shades. So there is the soft pink, the medium coral, Then we have the Hollywood Flawless Filter in the shade 4. Definitely not similar to either shade. This is much closer to like my natural skin tone on its own. I'd say it has like more, it's a completely different consistency, much thicker and much more like highlighty. Then we have the Lisa Eldridge in the shade Solar Glow. Again, it is a liquid highlighter, so it's a lot more highlighty versus that sort of luminous quality that the Chanel has, not really a similar shade. Then we have the By Terry Sunny Flash, bit more of a natural glow, this one. Again, not similar shade-wise. Very hard to swatch the Chanel Water Fresh tint because it is so runny. Probably a similar finish, this one, but tricky to swatch. And finally, the Chantecaille Anti-Aging Skin Tint. I forgot to mention this one. This one is kind of does a similar job. Color-wise, very limited as far as the number of shades, even more so than the Chanel. I feel like, again, it kind of gives a bit more color and therefore even more important to have like more shades available in it. Completely different texture and like just feel to it going on the skin, much thicker, more like moussey, but it does have a similar sort of glow and luminosity to it. Again, I can only use this in the summer. As you can see, like more neutral than the Chanel, not quite as glowy either, more natural. I'd say the Chantecaille is more similar to the By Terry CC. As these are all kind of drying down, you're starting to see a bit more like what their finish is like. I think initially these look glowier because they're just still wet, but I think now you can see the Charlotte Tilbury and the Lisa Eldridge are showing their highlighting quality versus the Chanel that are glowing down, like that are drying down just to sort of that luminosity a bit softer. I also want to show you a swatch of the two shades that I have in the Chanel Skin Enhancers mixed together so you can see that option as well. So there you have the two Chanel new shades mixed. So nothing really similar shade wise, but like I said, the Chanel Skin Enhancers are a more sort of super glowy skin product. The Charlotte Tilbury and the Lisa Eldridge are both very much highlighters. The By Terry is a little, as you can see now, it's dried down. It's a lot more sort of skin-like natural, not as luminous as the new Chanel. The Water Fresh tint, kind of a different beast altogether. A bit more coverage from it, but much thinner. Then we have the Chantecaille, which again, once dried down, not quite as luminous as the Chanel and a bit less sort of fresh looking. It's a bit of a drier luminosity. And then this is again the Chanel. Two shades mixed together. So I'd say as far as like finding a sort of similar product to these, the Charlotte Tilbury and the Lisa Eldridge are really different beasts altogether, much more of a highlighter. For me, less sort of appropriate as like an all over the face with nothing on top type of product. As far as the purpose, I think they're the closest to like the Chantecaille Anti-Aging Skin Tint and the By Terry, but I think the finish is a little glowier. And then the Beige Water Fresh tint has a little more pigment, kind of similar as far as the finish, but again, a bit of a slightly different product, much more watery, thinner, and yeah, a bit more of a base product as opposed to these, which are kind of like more like a skincare makeup primer hybrid. I feel like out of all of these, the difference about these is that they are a little more versatile. I feel like you could absolutely wear these by themselves and they're not going to look like you've got highlighter all over your face. They're not going to cause any problems. They're not going to look like you've got makeup on. They're not going to look makeup-y either. I feel like they're very subtle, very natural, very beautiful on the skin, but they also are going to give you an effect through a sort of light medium coverage foundation to give you a boost of glow and luminosity as well. So they are a bit more versatile, I feel, to some of these products that either work better on their own or better mixed or underneath makeup. Now I wanted to kind of give you a bit of an idea as to how these wore, but it's very hard to tell, you know, it's one of these products that they don't have enough coverage for you to really be able to tell if they're fading or wearing away as you would a foundation. You know, a foundation you wear for like 8-9 hours, you can see it sort of starting to disappear on your chin, see it disappearing from your nose and things like that. You can't really notice this fading because it just doesn't have enough pigmentation for there to be like a visible fade to them. So I wore these yesterday for probably about 6 or 7 hours, and on looking in the mirror I noticed nothing about like the glow had really changed. It hadn't sort of disappeared, and it hadn't got like too sweaty and shiny by the end of the day either. There wasn't really any noticeable fading that I could really detect, and there wasn't anything like clinging or separating going on. Again, it's going to be a much more subtle wear for a product like this that doesn't have like coverage that you can see being lost in places. So I thought that was excellent. The only other noticeable thing I wanted to point out is the fragrance. It's noticeable, but once it goes onto the skin, I can't really smell it once it's applied, but you will notice it throughout the application process. If you've tried the No1 Chanel foundation, it's the same. So I do wish there were more shades. I think we've demonstrated today that there is a kind of a need for more shades. Even for myself, I need to mix these two together to get something that doesn't look slightly off if I'm not going to balance it out with other makeup products. I wish there were more shades because I think it's beautiful. I think it's very versatile. I think I'll really enjoy this on sort of no makeup days, or just this and go. I think it's going to be perfect. I think mixed with foundation and under foundation, it's also very beautiful and going to give you a bit of extra luminosity and a bit of a boost. So I really enjoyed them. They were exactly what I was kind of looking for in a product at the moment. You know, something similar to the Chantecaille, something similar to the By Terry that I can just whack on my skin and go without having to do any other makeup, but maybe a little more versatile as a product and a little more versatile as shades. I feel like so many of these products, they come out in like 1 or 2 shades. We need more shades actually, as like, you know, to make it really work for lots of skin tones without lots of people having to mix. But I'm really enjoying them so far. I will continue to use them, and as always give you a more long-term review of these in my July roundup. Once I've used them for a few weeks, I will let you know if anything changes or if there's anything else that I've noticed about them. Please let me know if you've tried these, how you got on, which shade you picked up and how it worked for you in the comment section down below. But I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, and I'd love to see you in the next one. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye 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 bye.